Over 25 years working in both hardware and software industries with companies like Dell, Microsoft, Philips, McKesson, and F5 Networks. He was abruptly introduced to the paranormal in 2012 when he and his girlfriend moved into a haunted house outside of Seattle, Washington. The things they witnessed and experienced there changed their life forever. So, Keith, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Keith, you're an IT professional. You're a very successful businessman who's worked in very, very responsible jobs in a large number of blue chip companies. Do you find that your colleagues, are they sympathetic? Your fellow workers in the professional sector? Do you talk to them about it or about your experiences?
Yeah, good question. Actually, when my colleagues, and I've known them for quite a while because I work alongside them every day, when my case went public and they learned of it through media, they were very supportive in shock and in awe. It's interesting, I got two reactions as a result of me and Tina's experience. The negative reaction came from total strangers and people who don't know you at all throughout the world. But the people who know me, who work with me or see me every day, nobody ever doubted my claims in my places of employment, friends and family, even people who were not believers in the paranormal became believers in the paranormal just because I experienced it. They're like, if Keith said this happened, then it happened. They don't have to understand it. They don't have to troubleshoot it. They don't have to try to throw stones at it to see if it breaks apart. Yeah. And then they all put on the supportive role of, wow, that's just crazy. It's just weird. But yeah, so I'm always reminded of the two reactions I got of everyday people, and not all of everyday people were negative, only a small percentage, but nobody that I know or still know were negative. There was never he's attention seeking, because they know me. They know my demeanor. We work together. We have similar professions, and we're in IT. So there we go.
So the intelligent professionals of your own rank in IT accepted it perfectly. And that's what I found when I had a case which involved a university professor from Bangladesh who was having unusual experiences. And at the university, everybody accepted his word. But amongst the general public, he daren't speak about it because he found he got derision and people reacted with really strong emotional reactions. Okay, second question, and this is probably for most people here. I've read both your books. I assume most people have heard of the case, but for those who haven't, let's start right at the beginning. So we're going back some years now, aren't we? And you and Tina, that's correct, isn't it? Move into the house. Would you like to just tell briefly the outline of the story from beginning through to you leaving, as in bullet points or in scenes from a film, if you like? Let's just move through it.
Yeah. So May 2012, for those who are not familiar, me and my girlfriend at the time moved into a brand new home. Home was built in 2005. This is a single unit home on the outskirts of Seattle, Washington. And interesting enough, we started experiencing phenomena right away. The day we went to get the keys to the house, and I say this in my book, probably within in the first half an hour to an hour, we heard a kid cough. Now, the house is empty. We have no kids. The homeowner, landlord, had just left. And we were downstairs, and the kid cough came from upstairs. It was very loud. And I always tell people, because this is exactly how it happened, me and Tina were talking, and we heard the kid cough at the same time. And we both stopped and looked at each other and said, at the same time, was that a kid cough? Tina heard it distinctively. I heard it distinctively. It was very resolute. And we were just like caught off guard, but not caught off guard. We have no brush with the paranormal. We have no experience with the paranormal, but it was weird. It sounded like somebody was upstairs, but nobody was upstairs, obviously. And we just shrugged it off. I mean, we're not screaming ghosts. We're not screaming poltergeists. We thought it had to have come from outside. However, all the windows are closed. It was pretty loud for something to come outside to sound that loud, but we're not going to go there. We're excited about the home. So we moved in. Fast forward to maybe a week or two later, items started missing. My car keys, Tina's jewelry. And once again, we would ask each other, hey, have you seen my car keys? Have you seen my earring? Tina would say that. And the answer would always be no. But once again, we moved into a new house. Maybe things got lost during the moving process, right? It happens. What made it more weird, and this is the part you cannot disavow, is when you start finding things in your home that neither of you own, right? And to make it even more interesting, we're finding kid toys, okay? Now, these toys that we're finding are always out in the open. They're displayed openly. They're almost in your direct path, as if they were purposely put in front of you for you to acknowledge. Somebody or something wants you to see this toy. And we would see that, and I would bring a toy to Tina, she would bring one to me. So we just started collecting them. It was weird. We thought we were being pranked by the neighborhood kids, by the neighbors. We thought this was a way of them saying, welcome to the neighborhood. But that would imply that they're coming in while we're sleeping, because we would always find these kid toys in the morning after waking up. So I went and installed a home security system, because who wants somebody in their home while they're asleep, you know? Well, that did not solve the problem. Kid toys still appeared. Okay, so that's weird. Finally, the truth could not be ignored anymore. Common sense now has to take over. The night me and Tina were watching television, and Tina has this plant that's next to the entertainment center. It's about 4 feet tall, and it levitates and it shoots up in the air. It goes up, does a spin, falls down in front of both of our eyes, in front of my eyes and Tina. So I don't have to relate a story to Tina when she comes home. She don't have to relate it to me. We both saw it in real time. And now then we realize we think our house is haunted. Now we don't know what that means. It's obviously something's nefarious here. The internet, the paranormal website says, this is how you can tell your house is haunted. Missing objects, objects moving, phantom footsteps, objects appearing that neither one of you own. We had crossed all that. We had checked all those boxes off. And then we realized or remembered the kid cough, because one of the things it says on the website, kid cough or kid noises. And we were like, aha, I think we have a kid ghost living in our home. Now, it's very interesting because everybody was telling us, you have a kid ghost. Me and Tina thought, this is not malevolent. Kid ghosts, they get lost, they get confused. You being the person in the home should advise them to, number one, be quiet, leave, be nice, be parental. And generally they'll get the idea, the spirit, they'll leave or whatever over time. Everything we tried to do, we did all that and above, brought about a negative reaction, right? So, example, hey, spirits, stop banging, boom, boom, boom. Hey, spirit, will you please stop banging and making a loud noise? Will you please stop, slamming the door? Well, you would say that in a nice tone, and a plant would fly across the room. A plant would fly in front of you, behind you, side you, and just obliterate upon impact on the wall, on the floor. So you get kind of nervous about even talking to the spirits now, because every time you talk to ask the spirit to stop to do something, for lack of a better word, they attack you. So we're like, okay, well, that didn't work. So now we call in churches, we're calling paranormal teams, we're calling people, and they're advising us, you got to stay firm, you got to stay firm, you got to keep doing what you're doing. Eventually, they'll get the message. Well, as you know, if you're familiar with this case, the spirits didn't get the message. They piled on. The objects that flew got bigger. The objects that flew got heavier. The objects that flew were dangerous. We're talking knives, bar stools, chairs, kitchen chairs, glass candles, ashtrays, ironing board, an iron. You know, you're talking about things that weigh 5 to 10 pounds that when they go flying, they're moving at about the speed of a bullet. And then you get into 2014 of the Bible's catching fire. You know, what made this case controversial or just unbelievable to some was the 3 Bibles that caught fire. And what I always tell people, first Bible number 1 went missing for a year and a half, or a year and 2 months, 3 months, and returned on fire. The spirits took it in 2012. I think it was July, August 2012 when they took the first Bible. That first Bible came back spring of 2014 on fire. And there's really no way to get around the fact that it was on fire. There were flames on the Bible. Bible number 2 and 3, sort of similar. Bible number 2 disappeared from the upstairs bookshelf and was found on the kitchen table. And then Bible 3 was found on the same bookshelf upstairs, just completely incinerated. And these are the things that me and Tina are witnessing with the naked eye. And some of y'all can see this picture where I'm showing right now, hopefully, or the objects that caught fire. The third burnt Bible, the poster. This poster caught fire spring of 2014, and I called the fire department, which in itself is good evidence to those familiar with poltergeist phenomena, because when the fire department arrived, they could not determine what caused the fire. You know, you have a poster sitting in the middle of a wall, not next to any heat source, and it was on fire. This is the condition. This was taken a few seconds after I extinguished the fire. And this is what the fire department saw. And they left scratching their heads. And most documented poltergeist cases where fire was an issue, the house occupants, the police, the fire department locally generally respond the same way the fire department responded to us, which is, we don't know how that happened. That's just weird. So that, the cross catching fire on the wall downstairs, this is a wooden cross. It was a gift by a church. And as you can see, or you might not be able to see directly, but all the burnt edges on all the sides of the cross have been incinerated. This is the plant that was thrown. This was thrown spring 2012. And this is kind of weird, where the spirit took it upon itself to, and this happened more than once. Everything I'm pretty much showing you, ladies and gentlemen, happened more than once, of the spirit confiscating all the crosses in the home. Now, mind you, when we moved into the house, me and Tina had no cross in the home. We bought these crosses because we were advised to buy them as a means of ridding the home of whatever was living there. Well, the spirit confiscated these crosses in every section of the home and turned them upside down. As you can see, these crosses are turned upside down. The spider, that's a toy spider you see on the left. I don't own that. I don't know where that came from. I don't even, to this day, don't know what it means, but we found a lot of toy spiders in the home. But look at the picture next to the upside down crosses, because that's very interesting. That's a picture of, what's his name, Michael the Archangel, the infamous picture with his foot on Satan's head. We've all seen it, right? There's been different versions of that picture. This was given to me by a priest, and we kept this on our Bible, but as you can see, it's turned upside down. The Spirit turned the Michael the Archangel standing on Satan's head upside down next to the other two crosses. And to make matters worse, or more interesting, I should say, you see that black dot, or I hope you can see it, is Michael, his face is scorched out. Scorched out. His face is gone. So those are just some of the examples of what we experienced that I want to talk about with your listeners today.
Right. So this takes us through. You've been in the house for some time, and you've experienced what appears to be a malevolent demonic haunting. I mean, did the word demons not spring to mind? Because it's not one that's fashionable in the UK, but certainly that would be my first thought when you're seeing this kind of phenomena.
I would say, you know, the word demon gets thrown around a lot, you know, TV, yep. Paranormal shows, everybody likes to use it. But I would say there were demonic elements to this case. There still are. And one of the things as researchers, if there are any researchers on the call today, we have to be cognizant of is just because the word demon is always overused, yep, does not necessarily mean there won't be instances yep. where it should be used. You know, we always tend to overcompensate. Oh, it's always, people always talking about demon, 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 demon. Well, sometimes you can cry wolf, you know, people cry wolf all the time. But when the wolf finally shows up, everybody's reaction is kind of, that's what we always hear. No. This is the real wolf now. The real wolf has showed up to Keith and Tina's house, and the evidence points to that. It's not them, because Keith and Tina have no experience with the paranormal. We have no buy-in, if you will, to the paranormal until now. Now you're kind of baptized in it, right? You're baptized unwillingly. Therefore, you see things, you hear things. I saw shadowy figures. I don't make that up. I just saw that. I later learned seeing shadowy figures coincides with poltergeist activity. It's not outside the realm of impossibility. You've seen it, and you had zero knowledge. Therefore, you sound organic. Your claims seem organic to us. I've seen objects fly. I've seen objects go through walls. I've seen objects go through ceilings. I've had chef knives thrown at me. You're talking about a 12-inch knife thrown at me multiple times. Tina had scratches, poking and prodding, stomping, things put in your path as you're coming down the stairs that if any other day, if you tripped, would cause severe or significant injury. And I did have a significant injury, a mysterious fall that resulted in me tearing off my kneecap. So yeah, it's okay to use the word demon when it fits, and I think it fits with a lot of elements of this case.
Keith, did you find that the more attention you paid to the haunting, the more that you interacted with the spirit, the more that you looked into it, the more powerful it seemed to become, or the more dramatic the occurrences? Did you feel that fed it?
There's a definite correlation between attention and activity increasing. Like I said at the beginning, I think spirits, they put those toys in our direct path, right? They wanted us to see them, you know. Therefore, we saw them, but me and Tina were not giving the spirits attention at that stage. So the spirit was like, well, we just got to throw a plant in front of these guys because they're not catching on. So the day we saw the plant levitate, it was all hands on. It was 911 to the churches. It was 911 to this organization, to this people. It was me bringing in cameras, monitoring devices, trying to capture the phenomena in real time. And they get that energy, you know, you're bringing in more electronic equipment, right? You're putting cameras in every room. You're putting, you know, SD cards in the camera. The spirit's taking them. They're rebooting your cameras. Some cameras are still missing to this day. I went out and bought more cameras. So you become a cat chasing his tail, you know, and the poltergeist is the tail, but I'm the cat. So we're going in circles. And like I said, we didn't have any crosses in the home, but a lot of crosses caught fire. We bought crosses in, we bought Bibles in, and those items caught fire. Um, and you're right. So there's a correlation between, number one, the activity and the acknowledgement. And there's even more correlation between the removal, especially a spiritual removal. In our case, and other document cases too, poltergeists have been known to escalate the activity at the offset of a spiritual removal. I mean, you're using religion to get them out of the house, but you really don't know what's in the house, right? I mean, you really don't know what's there, so you might have an adverse reaction. You know, they say never pour water on an electrical fire, you know, or a gasoline fire. So the reaction or the result you were looking for, no, you're going to get the total opposite. And that's what happened with us, is we went in saging, smudging. A lot of people said smudge, and I understand that. I totally get that. We never smudged before. We have zero experience with smudging. And every time we would smudge, the activity went from 0 to 20 in less than a second for days. For days.
A lot of members of ASSAP, because we're in the UK, I mean, I happen to know what it means, but can you just explain what smudging is? It's burning sage, bundles of sage.
Yeah. So yeah, sage stick, smudging. I could tell you now, and I don't know if it's the same way in the United States, but or in the UK, but it's definitely smudging is a big deal in the US. I can tell you it's probably the top 3 things to use to quiet a house that's active. And so we were advised to smudge or sage. I went out and bought, you had to go look for it, never heard of it before. So I went and bought some. You know, I'm walking in the house with a bag this big, full of sage sticks. I just needed one.
Yeah.
And the spirits, or our spirits, just take that and use it against you. Like I said, they use the sage sticks to write on the walls. The first wall markings in my office wall were written in sage ash. Okay, I would leave to work and my sage stick would be this big, right? This is how long my sage stick is when I go to work. When I come home, my sage stick is this big, but I got whole new wall writings of ash on my wall, and the sage stick is laying underneath the wall writing. It's like, haha, you use your sage stick. The spirit is letting you know that doesn't work on us. That does not work on us. It's like a silver bullet don't work on a werewolf, right? The werewolf is telling you, here's your bullet back. Here, you can shoot me all day. It don't work on me. I'm a different breed of werewolf, okay? I'm a different breed. Only thing your bullets is doing is making me stronger. So you're like, oh, I need to stop shooting bullets at you. And that's what the poltergeist in our house was doing. It was like, you can bring Bibles in all you want. We're going to burn on me. I guess you like having your Bibles returned to you on fire and your sage sticks, incinerated, but it don't work on us. But it's going to make you and Tina's life miserable because now the activity is triple,
It's interesting because in the UK, sage is not, I must be a Native American tradition or something, because it's not something that we use very often. I mean, we use it in making puddings, stuffing, as kind of like onion. But it was used in the Middle Ages when people were summoning spirits and demons to give them strength and allow them to manifest. You would burn sage and other herbs, bitter herbs, to create a smoke so that the demon or spirit could form a body in your magic circle. So actually, from an occult viewpoint, I would think about it and think, actually, I'm not sure this was a good idea. Burning smelly herbs might actually be seen, if you were an occultist, to make the spirit stronger.
Yeah, and that's the theory. Like I
But
said,
you know, that's because that's just the difference in culture between the UK and US. So yeah, if it was church incense, that would be more traditional, I think, for us. We would sense it with church incense. But so okay, so obviously at this point you've got the grandmother of all. I mean, this is the biggest poltergeist case I think of the 21st century so far, from what you're saying. And I mean, I've read your book and I know how dramatic it is. And then obviously people begin to doubt, and there's all kinds of mockers and knockers. But the obvious question that first comes to mind is, why didn't you leave? Why didn't you just walk out the door, get in the car, phone the landlord, and say your house is unlivable? Here are the keys. That's my first question. What kept you in the house? Because I think that's interesting.
yeah, that's a good question, and that's a fair question, and I get that question a lot, and I put the answer in both books. So there's multiple reasons why we stayed, but there's three primary reasons why me and Tina stayed, mainly myself. The one of the top three reasons of why we stayed is, and this is not talked about a lot as it relates to this case, but it's true. Me and Tina had activity in 2012 from pretty much the time we moved in till November or December of 2012. The activity, believe it or not, came to an abrupt stop, and we did not have any activity for the year 2013. There was a year and maybe 2 months where we had no activity. And I always tell people the activity we had in 2012, if you compare it to the activity that we had in 2014, there's no comparison. What we had in 2012, you can say maybe low level haunting, level 1 on a scale of 1 to 5, a level 1 low level haunting. You can even say it was malevolent. You can say it was interesting, but you can't really say it was malevolent. Not yet. Not yet. By the time we were entertaining the thought to just move, though, because we just got tired of it, the activity stopped. And we thought we won. Oh, we won. Now we can live in the house like we want to. They're gone. When the activity came back in 2014, and that was about March or April, it came back tenfold. And we were caught off guard, and we went rushing to the Catholic Church. And I put this in my book. Everybody that was helping us said, you got to fight this here. You cannot leave. We will help you, because keep in mind, even if you leave, there's a possibility that they might follow you. And if you follow you, then, what are you going to do then? So they said, the Catholic Church, the Seattle Catholic Church, the Bothell Catholic Church, they said, this needs to end now. This needs to end in this house, okay? Because if you leave this house, oh man, the whole the dynamic changes. So that was the second primary reason. And the third primary reason was, and this is a personal reason, especially for me, is I didn't like the idea of being run out of my own house. Call me stubborn, call me silly, you'd be right. Call me naive, you'd be right. I don't know what I'm fighting, but I don't want to be run out of my own house. And I definitely don't want to have another family come in after me and deal with something similar. Well, a lot of people don't know about this case, but it's in both books, is there was a family who lived in the Bothell house from 2008 to 2009 who had similar activity. I found them. I talked to them. And one of the questions I asked them, because it's a fair question, why didn't y'all tell anybody? And she told me, and it's an honest answer, and most people would give the answer she gave. We just moved. This is not something you confide in. You can barely confide in it with your family members or your friends, let alone landlords, tenants, and strangers. If you're moving into a new house, one of the first questions they ask you is, why'd you leave the old house? Oh, because it was haunted. Most new homeowners don't want you in their house, so they just left. So it was always a silent treatment. and then it was allowed to fester. Here comes Keith and Tina 4 years later, right? So now, I'm saying, no, it is now. I'm not leaving. If I do leave, it's going to be on my terms, not the Spirit's terms. And just to prove that my concept of them
So another
following.
question that grows out of that: the landlord. The landlord. What did you say to the landlord about it?
Yeah. So the landlord is one of the first person I went to about the house being haunted. And the landlord said he knew no knowledge. I asked him multiple times. But interesting, he never would come to the house. I would invite him to the house.
Okay.
Yeah, he never came. And this is that. And if you got both my books, you will see the landlord me and Tina saw May 1st, 2012. The next time I saw the landlord, I'm talking about visually saw him. Keep in mind, 3 Bibles done caught fire, poster done caught fire, fire department has been to the house. All this stuff exploding in this house. TV shows have been to the house. The national media has been to the house. The world media has been to the house. The landlord, the only time he's been to the house was May 1st, 2012, and May 8th, 2016, when I moved out. Those are the only 2 times. Dishwasher's broke. Water heater's not working. He doesn't even come near. This doesn't work. This doesn't work. He's purposely staying away from the house. So
did he pay to have
I think the landlord knew something was wrong with the house.
Right.
Once again, he's not living in it. So, and then he never set foot in the house.
And who's living there now? Do you know?
A husband and wife lives in the house now. I moved out May 2016. The landlord, he sold the house soon after. And a husband and wife moved in July of 2016. I have not talked to them. I have not been back to the house. People always ask me, are they experiencing anything? I tell them I don't know. Parapsychologist Steve Mera says you can have low activity in that house and not even know you have it. I mean, how many of us, when we walking around in our daily lives, you misplace something, you don't really go looking for it, right? You just think it's going to turn up on its own, or you leave a room and the light's off, come back, it's on, or vice versa. Or you think you closed this door and you really didn't, it's open. That's the type of low level activity these people could be experiencing. Long as they don't do what I did, which is, look the abyss in the dark with your dead eyes and it'll look back at you. But even if that case is not so much, one of the mysterious things about poltergeist is not the house that's haunted. The poltergeist is what's causing the activity. It's not the house. Some of the most famous cases, Enfield being one and others, the location where the crazy activity happened for a number of months or years is dormant now. I think there's a dynamic, a synergy between the occupants and what's in the energy that's there that's sort of meld. Whenever me and Tina walked in that door, the spirit saw us as wanting because we heard the kid cough within 20 minutes of being there. Within 20 or 30 minutes of being there, the spirit said, that's who we want to interact with. That's not the previous family who had the house, who had a husband and wife and 3 kids. No, those two we want to try to, get some interaction with. And they did. Now, anybody else after us? Maybe not so. I think probably as from a credibility state, the spirits know that if we blow up the next family, if we give the next family anything similar to Keith and Tina, we're just helping Keith and Tina's case. The skeptics are going to just not have a leg to stand on if we start burning Bibles in the family that moved in after Keith. So no, so I think the spirits are aware of that. They have to do things on their own terms.
What was the target? Was it you? Was it Tina?
Or
was it your relationship? Or was it getting you out of the house? What was the aim of the entity?
The ultimate aim of these spirits in our house was they wanted me and Tina at each other's throats. They wanted me and Tina to kill each other. The spirits at the beginning started haunting our surrounding area. They're haunting the house, okay? And they're watching our reaction to it. Then they move into phase two, which is they're haunting mainly Tina, okay? Tina's seeing most of the phenomena. She's coming back to me. She's hysterical. She's frightened. Then they pivot off Tina to me, okay? And then when they get on me, they stay on me. They're still on me. And the ultimate goal, as we're trying to rid the house of the activity, is to put us at odds with each other, okay? To put things, to get us arguing, to get us in disagreements about the smallest things, the smallest things. Did you remember to call the priest? Oh, I was busy at work today, I forgot. And me only working on 4 hours of sleep, I would get upset. You told me you was gonna call the priest today, so now the priest is not coming over. Well, I got other things to do. I got busy, work got busy. So that little bit of disagreement, bam, the house blows up. Boom, 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 boom. And vice versa. Tino will say, did you call to do this or da-da-da-da-da-da? Tonight is your turn to smudge. I smudged last night. Or I read from the Bible last night. Now it's your turn. Well, I'm too tired. I don't want to read from the Bible. I'm too tired. I'm going to bed. No, the priest said we have to take turns reading from the Bible. He said we can't do it 60-40. We can't do it 70-30. We got to do it 50-50. If we do it any other way, the spirits are going to latch on to me more or you more. No, I'm just too tired. Da-da-da-da-da-da. And then bam, 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 the house blows up again. So I think it was a divide and conquer game plan from the spirit's point of view. And ultimately, yeah, it led to our breakup, yeah.
How many years did you live there?
Huh? 4 years.
So you moved in 2000, sorry.
2012, moved out 2016.
Right, okay, 2012 to 2016. So 4 years you're there, and during that time you have a year and a half of no incidents. And so at the beginning it starts very, very low key. Is that correct?
Yep.
And then it builds up. So when did you, were the apparitions involved? Because at some point, although it seems to be a poltergeist case, at some point usually you start to see apparitions. When did the apparitions become involved?
Yeah, the gray lady, what I call the gray lady, the first apparition I saw was summer 2012. I would say that was about 4 months of living in the home, is when the first female apparition, I didn't know the term apparition, I just called it a ghost, but I learned later it's not a ghost. And this apparition, I'm in my office working on my laptop, and she comes by and turns the light off. The click, you hear the light switch. And as soon as the lights go off, I hear that noise, click, and there's a full-bodied woman standing in the doorway. Now she's all gray, but she's not transparent, she's not translucent, she's not see-through, she's full-bodied, okay? I really don't know what I'm seeing. My brain is trying to feed me Tina, but I know where Tina is in the house. So I instinctively get up out of my chair and go after the gray lady, because as soon as I see her, she takes off. She starts going down the hallway. I'm more out of instinct than conscious. Get in the hallway, turn the corner, gray lady's gone. She's gone. I go find Tina. Tina's taking a bubble bath. I knew where Tina was the whole time because she told me about 30 minutes ago where she was going. So I go find Tina and I say, I saw it. Tina see my face. She's like, what's wrong with you? I said, I saw it. Up until that time, we had objects thrown, loud banging, weird noises, and all the disappearing and reappearing of objects. Now, seeing something physical, I remember telling Tina, I have a face, I have a body to our phenomena, to wherever it is we're dealing with, because we still don't know. But it was a woman. So we pivoted from a kid ghost because we had been thinking kid goes, but no, this is a woman. And she was all gray. And I saw her only one time in 2012. When the activity came back in 2014, she, meaning the gray lady, would make one more appearance. But another apparition, identical to the gray lady, except she's all white. There's another apparition, same hallway, who's identical to the gray lady, except she's 100% white, full-bodied, not see-through, not translucent, none of that, not transparent, and roaming through the hallway.
Yeah. So, did you ever identify who the apparition was of?
Yes. After I had seen the gray lady once in 2012 and seen the white apparition in 2014, by the time I saw the white apparition, I had talked to Rhonda. Rhonda is the one I said who lived in the house 4 years before we did. I was the wife, the mother. Both white and gray lady looked like Rhonda. Rhonda was the previous tenant. Rhonda, they had her likeness, her demeanor, her face, height, width, hair length, and it was weird how I deduced that, because me and Rhonda had always chatted on chat, but when I saw her face, I haven't seen any apparition in a while. So when I saw the white lady again, I was like, I know that face. I saw it. And then when Rhonda told me about her experience in the home, I put two and two together. And I was always curious as to why am I seeing two different color apparitions that look identical to the previous tenant that's still alive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
I did not know then, but I later learned through research, and I'm pretty sure you're familiar and others are familiar, is there's a such thing of a living apparition.
Yeah. Phantasms of the living. Yeah.
Or a crisis apparition.
Yeah.
The thing that separates the gray lady and the white lady is the gray lady was interacting. She turned off the light and took off running. That's a conscious decision on both accounts. Light switch goes off, take off running. You have to think to do that. The white lady was just like watching a movie. When I saw her in the hallway, before I saw her,
yeah,
I heard the rustling of paper or leaves. Sound like leaves or paper rustling. So my ears turned toward the direction of the noise. Something wanted me to turn that way. So the noise, when I turned toward the hallway to see where the noise was coming from, here comes the white lady, but she's so stoic. She's not interacting. It was like watching a movie scene, and she's going left to right, and she disappears into the room she walks in. But both of them have the appearance of Rhonda. Now, there's one thing, Dr. Rich Sugg, who did the foreword for my book one, he found research that seems to suggest that due to the longevity of the phenomena in our house, there's a theory out there that you go from gray to white, meaning color, gray color to white color based on strength, based on the level of activity in the home, based on the longevity of the activity, based on the people interaction, meaning you saw the gray lady first, now she's 100% white, So anybody can make up what they want to make up with that, but it's interesting how I saw gray lady first, white lady second. Both look exactly like Rhonda. Your listeners might not notice right now because this is going to sound really weird. Rhonda did try to commit suicide 4 to 5 times in the home in 2008. I found that documentation through 911 records, and she told me she tried to commit suicide in the home. Rhonda, unfortunately, was successful in committing suicide. Rhonda is no longer of the living. She committed suicide August of 2016. 3 months after I moved out the house. She walked in front of a moving train, and that was that. Were these precursors? Were these forewarnings? Were these predictions? It's just another spoke in what makes this case so interesting and worthy of being studied, because that's an important question.
Right, which gets us to an interesting question, which is obviously Steve Mera, a controversial character from the UK. I think that's probably the way we'd put it. Came over with some of his friends, and I believe Norrie was aware of all that. But ASSAP didn't know anything about it. But how did the American ghost groups and the church meet your needs? Because as an organisation who aims to try and help people, what should we be doing and what should we not be doing from your viewpoint?
So there are multiple paranormal teams came to our house. I'm talking about in the United States. And Steve Mera, you're right, Steve Mera, Don Phillips, Nick Kyle, who was the former president of the Scottish SSPR.
Yep.
He came. And these individuals lived in the house for about 2.5 weeks. And then some United States from the East Coast came and lived in the house for about a month and a week, about 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And I would tell paranormal teams, and I'll tell us any paranormal team I talk to, the thing that was important to me and Tina about any paranormal team is the level of empathy. Okay. Please have empathy with the home occupants, because we are at our wits' end. Okay. We don't know what we're seeing. We don't know what we're dealing with. We're dealing with something. We did not buy this house to witness this. That's not why we got the house. And it's okay to be objective. It's okay to ask us questions. I love questions. I'm in IT. I make my living off questions. Okay. Ask me any question and I will give you an honest answer. If I don't know, I don't know. I'll tell you, I don't know. But don't come at us as we're faking it. You know, don't come in accusatory. Well, show me. I'm not showing you anything because I can't predict when this stuff happens. Okay? I'm never sitting on my couch and looking on my watch and saying, Spirit, throw a couch. No. It don't work like that. I cannot tell the dog or the cat to perform when the paranormal team arrives. Only thing I can show you are the aftermath. You want a Bible? Here's the burnt Bible. You want the burnt cross? Here's the burnt cross. Where was it at when it burnt? Hey, let me walk you over there where it was at. What were the conditions before it burnt? Oh, I can remember the conditions. What was the weather out like? I can remember that. We can go research that online. Those are things I can answer for you. But I cannot show you these things because I'm not the one doing them. You want to take the Bible with you to have it analyzed? Take it with you. You want to take the wall writings, the black stuff with you? Take it with you. Who am I to stop? You're the researcher. Okay, I want answers like you want answers. So, Steve, to their credit, you know, I'm not familiar with their background in the UK, but they brought empathy to me in my case. They brought a level of Poltergeist IQ. Steve Mera, he knew when the Poltergeist purposely turned one of his cameras around in the living room. They set up cameras, and the motion detector alert went off. And they went in there and saw the camera now turned 180 degrees, and I'd been in their sight the whole time. I've never left the room. He even says in his book, we knew then that Keith was dealing with a purposely elusive poltergeist. Because up until now, Keith had been getting a lot of slack and a lot of criticism of why is everything off camera? Why is everything after the fact? And I would always say underneath my YouTube videos or whatever, because the poltergeist unplugged the camera or turned it around or there was a quick battery drainage. Well, Steve Mera and Don, they saw that. Now, they already know that because they study other poltergeist cases, but now seeing is really believing. You know, you can read something on paper, but when you see it with your own equipment, you're like, aha, oh, okay. So now they had to pivot their investigation because the spirits are like, well, if you're going to get evidence from us, it's not going to be with your cameras, guys. It's not going to be with your Wi-Fi, your motion, and your infrared. And he talks about in a few chapters of his book of how they had to adjust. But I tell any paranormal team who listens to me, empathy goes a long way. If you're a fan of Ghost Adventures or whoever, you saw Ghost Adventures did not have any empathy. Not even in the 45-minute episode that they aired. They were so negative, so accusatory. They never dug down into the phenomena. It was always, well, why this? Why that? Why that? Why that? Why that? You know, what are you asking me for? You know, I should be asking you these questions. I just live here. You're the researcher, you know. So I say empathy is very important. And the spirits picked up on that. The spirits who live with us, it's kind of like a weird narcissism. The spirits don't want anybody treating us bad or worse than how they treat us. Okay. The spirits are like, we're the only ones that can treat them bad.
They were not
they're our pets.
They did not
you're not going to come in there and just
bulldoze. Okay, Keith, we're coming up to the end of our time, but what I want to do is, if you're willing to stay another 10 minutes, I want to go over a bit because this is far too interesting to end now. Are you all right for another 10 minutes?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Good, because it's now about the time we should wrap. So for those who have to dash off at 8 o'clock, I'm just going to tell you that next week we have cryptozoologist Richard Freeman back, and I'm sure you all enjoyed Richard's last talk, and it saves you having to listen to me again. And so Richard's back next week, and this week we're now going over to Keith because you've got so many questions. So yeah, Andy says if I was one of those entities, one of the investigators started up with goading and whatnot, I would make a point of keeping quiet till they're gone. I think one of the things that we've got to bear in mind is that a lot of psychic research groups learn their art from watching television. They've never read any of the parapsychology books. They've never experienced the poltergeist. And that is why they act. Their aim is to turn up and see something spooky. And it's an entertainment thing. They're there for the entertainment. They're not there for your sake. They're not there for the ghost's sake. They're not there for science's sake. They're there because they want to. Tom Ruffles asked, what's going to be in your third book?
Yeah, so book 1, The Bothell Hell House, and book 2, Attachments, Poltergeist of Washington State, is just a chronological order of everything we've experienced, of what I experienced. The activity did follow me, spoiler alert, the activity did follow me to my new place of residence immediately after moving out the house. That's book 2. Book 3, however, and this is just me going back to what I'm good at, is my IT aspect, is book 3 is going to cover all the physics of the poltergeist activity that me and Tina witnessed and lived. I still have questions. But there's a weird poltergeist mechanics of objects levitating, moving, zigzagging in the air, doing cartwheels, but observation, when you see it, dissolves the activity. The spirit seems to know through observation to change course of where an object was intended to go. They like to do things behind your back. Also, the objects that go through walls, ceilings, things of that nature, the loud noise, the loud banging. All that is documented in other poltergeist cases. This is nothing new in paranormal. However, I could not yet find a book. I know some books have tried, but none have, in my opinion, totally succeeded in getting into the quantum mechanics of the physics of the activity. One thing I noticed about everything me and Tina saw and witnessed is certain things defy the laws of gravity. Certain things run contradiction to our understanding of physics, you know. But they might be explainable if you just drill down deep as to what do they mean. You know, the spontaneous fires. We've all heard of spontaneous combustion, spontaneous fires. How is the poltergeist doing that? You know, you and I, when we want to light something, we got to go get a lighter, gasoline. We don't will fire into existence, right? We cannot will fire with our thoughts. Are they doing that? Or how is that even possible? There's theories, believe it or not, and I just give your listeners a preview because they can Google search it, of black body radiation. Okay? Black body radiation, you light a fire in your chimney with a log or a coal, and that coal might be black to the naked eye or gray to the naked eye, right? That coal. You put on infrared goggles, it's blowing hot, right? If you were a kid, you would touch it like, oh, it's hot, because it's giving off a black body radiation, okay? Well, you can channel that black body radiation to a specific target and cause something to catch fire, and nobody in the room would be the wiser until that object caught fire. You know, we've seen it with magnifying glasses, right? You get a magnifying glass, put it in the sun, and all of a sudden the object is just, and then when you see smoke coming from it, it's already hot. It's just now visible to your spectrum. The heat process has already started, but once it reaches the human spectrum of interpreting sight, then it's in our spectrum. But before then, it was in black body spectrum. But you could only see it with infrared. So it's my belief, these objects that catch fire in people's homes, in our homes specifically, sort of started the same way. One of the things, if you read other objects that catch fire in Poltergeist cases, the fire department and people who write down in their reports is, there's these weird cigar-shaped cigarette burn marks, okay? That's on the objects that caught fire. It could be a couch, dresser, love seat, seat cushion, kitchen chair. An average person is not gonna look that close to an object. They're just gonna say, oh, the object's burnt, you know. No. Look closer. A fire expert can tell you where the fire started on any object because they went to fire school. Well, I noticed in multiple poltergeist cases, there's always a report of cigar burn marks, no matter what continent you're on, which implies that's the focal point of where the fire or the heat started. Okay, so invisible heat was focused there and ignited the couch or cushion or love seat. So that's what the book is going to go after, because knowing that helps in an investigation. You know,
Yeah.
you can actually have equipment, monitoring equipment, to sort of catch that stuff or look for that stuff, or at least try.
Point source of ignition. Keith, next question. This is one from me, actually, which is, do you feel there was a sexual element to the entities? I mean, do you think we've all heard of the succubi, and it did seem to be trying to destroy your relationship with Tina by dropping the jewelry off, etc. Did you feel that it was some kind of succubus, some kind of vampiric entity? Because after I think I joked once that it was a vampiric Smurf succubus, but that was a long time ago. But yeah, I mean, what was going on there? Was it interested in you in some way?
Well, I found out after I moved out the house, and I was not experiencing this in the house, but you're right. Tina would find female jewelry, not children, but female jewelry, and that would upset her, like any woman would. It would upset her because the jewelry is not hers, and she would find it in the bedroom, in the bed, and it would create arguments and tension. So you're right in that regards. Now Tina's gone. She's moved out, right? She's gone. When I moved to my second place of residence, the activity that never subsided, that still happens to this day, is the poking and prodding while sleeping, is the phantom heartbeats coming through the mattress and the pillow, boom, 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 boom. And that's, like I said, it's all documented. It's on my YouTube channel. But then you get into the dreams and the night terrors and the night visits. And the night visits, once again, I did not notice at the time, but through research, I found out through the night visits that I'm having are sexual in nature. Also, now we're 3 years or 4 years out of the Bothell house, 2020. I'm without 4 years later. I now try to develop, of meeting a new partner, dating, meeting somebody new, a new female, because me and Tina can't reconcile. The women that I have dated have had activity at their location within days or weeks of meeting me. The women that I have dated have witnessed glass explode in their face in a restaurant or a live music concert. The woman that I had dated have seen shadowy figures in my new place. Now, we're not even talking about the Bothell house now. We're talking about where I live now. They've seen the shadow figures dart across the room while we're watching TV. They know of the previous haunting, because it's hard not to tell them, but seeing is believing. And then when they see it, they're gone. There's no relationship after that. I don't blame them. So yeah, I think there's something in place, succubus or whatever, that's saying no, Keith is ours. The women seem to be scared away, and it's not a thought scare, it's a physical scare. They see the shadow figure. I describe the shadow figures in great detail in both books. So when you see one after I've described it, you're a believer.
Right.
You were 50-50 prior. Once you see it, you're Team Keith.
So you're telling me, Keith, so what that actually means is that if any of our lady investigators want to experience the experience themselves and actually see it, all they have to do is go on a date with you.
It might not be that simple.
Shame. I was about to fly some over. Charter an aeroplane and send it over with her. I'm not that kind of girl. I'm sure we have some ladies who would love to come and just be.
I mean, yeah, you like to say
if they were scared away. That might be the best way. It might actually be the best way to investigate this. Might be to date Keith. So, ladies, if you're interested in dating Keith, I'll put you in touch and we can hook you up later. I've always tried to persuade young ladies that the place you're most likely to see ghosts is in your own bedroom, according to all research. And so, therefore, rather than going and paying all this money to go to haunted houses,
there is an argument to be made there. Yeah.
Keith, what happened? Where's Tina now? And does she talk about the experience, or has she no desire to?
Yeah, Tina and I
are still friends?
Tina and I are still friends. Okay, Tina and I are friends. We have a story to tell. We have an experience that only we can share. And Tina's all right. I'm, and this is weird saying this, I'm glad I'm still having activity and not Tina.
Yeah.
Tina took the brunt of a lot of the activity just by being a female alone, and how she was portrayed on the Demons in Seattle episode.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm glad she's not calling me saying, "Oh my God, her house is on fire or things are blowing up." So, and it's very few silver linings in this case. If that's a silver lining, okay, I'll take it. But we're still friends, and she still lives 20 minutes from the Bothell house. I live 15 minutes from the Bothell house. I don't think it's a proximity thing. I just think because I was having so much activity while living in the Bothell house when I was traveling on the world on business, hotel rooms. I was attacked in hotel rooms violently. And this is when I was still living in the Bothell house. Tina was attacked when she was in the home by herself when I was away on business trips, her and her friends. But Tina's okay, and I'm glad in that sense. So yeah, but Tina would always, because it left a bad taste in her mouth, she does not do interviews or speeches or whatnot. She's read both books. All my books go through her. I want to make sure I portray her story accurately.
Yep.
If you notice she's not come out and no, she's like, hey, and so you just need one person to tell this story. I think I'm doing it effectively, and she's okay.
Yeah, she's good. She's good, and she's. You're not still seeing one another in any way. There's no chance you two get hooking up again.
No, we tried the year and a half after I moved out, but no, we just agreed to leave things as they are.
Yeah.
We're not each other's enemy. Like I said, we both have a unique story to tell. Regardless of who or where we end up, we have one thing in common, what very few people do, is we lived in the Bothell house, and the things that we saw together will always bind us. That's never going to be broken. It can't be broken. She knows that. I know that.
It's 10 past. We've kept you longer than we were supposed to, and we've asked a lot of questions. I'm going to ask one last question quickly. Ian says, you always describe the entity in the plural as if there were multiple entities. Do you think there was more than one entity?
Yes, by far, by question. I can tell you now, I'll never be able to know the exact number. There were no less than 11 entities in that house at any given time. No less than 11. I don't know the full amount.
As was the pyro poltergeist tree.
Huh?
Sorry, I lost you for a moment. Finish. Sorry, it cut out on us. I thought you'd finished speaking. Sorry, carry on.
Oh, okay, yeah, because I'm talking about the numbers. They don't like me talking about the numbers. There's no less than 11 entities in that house at any given time. It's impossible to know how many beyond that, but when the activity was at its lowest, there was no less than 11.
I would encourage everyone in ASSAP who's interested to buy on Kindle, and I also have physical copies of Keith's books. And this is the second one, but you need to read the Bothell House first. And if he's guilty of one thing, it's the level of detail that he provides is overwhelming. It took me a really long time to read it because you have to read it very carefully and slowly and look at. And it's so fascinating because you've got a really highly intelligent chap who's in the middle of a poltergeist case, and I cannot think of another example like that. Usually we see poltergeist cases from external experts. Here we had somebody who became an expert who was sitting in the middle of it and was educating themselves in it to try and understand what the hell's going on. I'm going to ask Keith if he'll come back in a few weeks and talk to us again, because I don't think we got halfway through what happened, and that will give us all time to, and maybe we could show one of the videos or a short video or something on that occasion, and then Keith could talk about it if that would interest Keith. I think we've got some footage of your house, haven't we? So maybe you'd like to do that again. Keith's book, it's in the chat. I'm not sure how much it is, but it was very inexpensive on Kindle last summer when I bought both books on that, as well as Keith had kindly sent them to me. The other thing I'd like to say is thank you very much to Keith, and thank you all for being so patient. And I would like to say, Kindle Unlimited has it as well, if you're on Unlimited. If you would like to see Keith again, let me know. And if you've got any questions, I could email to Keith and put you in touch directly with Keith, because Keith has always been nothing less than straightforward, forthright, and honest to me, even when at times I think he's like...
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Because I do agree.
Yeah, I would love to come back. There's just so much information. It's hard to do it in 1 hour. You kind of have to do it piecemeal.
I think you've got to come back, because there's just no way we can do it in an hour, is there?
Right, yeah. And that's fine. I would love to come back and do a part 2, part 3, because I want to answer questions, and I want to, any misconceptions I want to, dispel. There's a lot of misconceptions out there, and now you have the source. I'm the source. So if you got a question, feel free to ask me.
And one more thing, Keith. Would you? Yeah, so I'm going to have you again, Keith. You've been fantastic, and I think you're seeing all the praise that's coming up in chat at the moment. I'll send it over so you can have a look at it later. It'll give me a log, and I'll send that across. The other question I would like to ask you, I've completely forgotten what the other question I was going to ask you was. Apart from, would you come back? Oh yeah, would you be willing to write a document designed for paranormal research groups? Just a single side would do, with rules that they should observe or advice for people who are going into people's homes and how they could be helpful and what to do and what not to do. Because I think that would actually be genuinely interesting. I think ASSAP would be able to get it to a lot of people and a lot of groups out there. Would you be interested in doing it?
I have notes of that subject already, so it wouldn't be hard.
Yeah, if you try, maybe we could publish it in the journal, but if we could just have a list of bullet points, we could send them out to the other groups. And it wouldn't be about ethics. It would be about, how do you treat people? What are the basic, what's the basic things you should look for, and advice from you as someone who's lived through this and investigated it yourself as to what they should be doing. Yep.
Yeah.
Because I think you've got so much good advice to give to the investigating community. It'd be good to share that, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I'm all about information sharing. So that's my MO. So
thank you very much. I will, next time I'll put the mic live and you'll be able, I won't question you. We'll have people question you directly because today, because I knew we were going to be pushed for time, it's 8:15. Thank you so much for sparing your time and coming
Hey, thank
to
you.
us.
Thank
And
everybody on the
well,
call,
we'll
on
pass
the
you over.
Zoom. Everybody, and hope to see you guys again. Stay safe out there, and yeah, let's do this again soon.
Fantastic. Questions to Keith, just email secretary@assap.ac.uk or message me directly and put to Keith in the subject line, and I'll pass those to Keith because based on my experience, he'll answer every single one. So thank you. That was awesome. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Thank you.
Indeed, Keith. And thank you to everybody else. Next week, Richard Freeman. In a few weeks, we'll have Keith back with some maps of the house and some photos, and we'll go through the whole story from the bits we didn't cover today. Thank you so much. Take care. Good night, everyone. Good night, everyone. Take care.